Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2. And today I'm going to be giving you part 47 of What If Izuna Uchiha was Naruto Ancestor. Remember to hit this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, go ahead and check out the new episode of What If Naruto was sent to the Marvel world that I posted over on Anime King. And I also posted a new episode of What If Naruto was from the two greatest clans. So go ahead and check that out and enjoy that. And I also post a new episode of What If Naruto the Deceitful God on this channel. So go ahead and check that out and enjoy it as well, guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin this new episode. Start the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their
So, the last part we left off, Darui was on the battlefield with 25,000 soldiers as Kakashi and the others are on the wall. As Kakashi released the order to rain down arrows as Darui tries best to block all of them. As the battle became even more intense as the ground behind Darui and the others exploded, so they had nowhere to retreat to. So they couldn't move, they couldn't go anywhere. As more arrows rained down with explosive tags on them, as Darui and his men were slaughtered. As the final part of the plan went off as Gaara pressed a button, as the entire footing beneath them exploded. As Kakashi gave the order to slaughter all of them, none can be left alive. Meanwhile, Sasuke was in the enemy camp as he destroyed main part of the enemy base. As they was going through there, Sasuke sent back his remaining soldiers along with Sugetsu and Shino, as he was heading off by himself with the ones that were up and running until they all were struck down by a kunai to the head, as he turned to see Itachi's brother. As Sasuke told Itachi to stop his nonsense, he knew why his brother did it because of the coup. As Sasuke wanted his brother to stop all this madness, but Itachi told him there was only one way: live by the sword, die by the sword, as both of them prepared to battle each other. Meanwhile, Naruto finished telling Hoshirama his story, as Hoshirama understands that this world has created a being like Naruto. It did it before with Madara, he did it a lot of times. This world has created monsters, and he is just one of them. As Hoshirama told Naruto he still couldn't forgive him for what he did to the village though, what he did to his precious village and Fire Nation, and for that, people will come to understand him one day, but for now, they will have to fight. As Tobirama was released from his binds, as Naruto stood there ready to take on the two Senju brothers. While that was going on, Kakashi noticed something. Most of the 25,000 soldiers, their body was morphing and changing into something different after they died. It was changing into a white, strange creature with no telling if it was a man or woman. As the group was surprised, as they wondered what the hell is this thing. So yeah guys, that was basically the last part we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So what do you say we begin this new episode? Let's get straight into it, guys. Naruto stepped forward, his eyes set on 3 shinobi. With the exception of Mother Uchiha Hashirama, or the Sage of Six Paths, he doubted that anyone could match up with the powers of the two Senju brothers and Orochimaru. And now he was facing all 3 of them alone in combat. 4 shadow clones were created instantly, without him weaving any hand signs. As the clones went through hand signs, as they slammed their hand on the ground, 4 violent flame formation. A large barrier formed around them, combining them to a certain area. The clones bent down as they took their position as another barrier covered them. This way no one would be able to disable the barrier by destroying any of them. It seems you have mastered one of my jutsu, Orochimaru said. He sighed when Naruto remained silent, never giving a reply. Kurama, now we can go all out, Naruto said seriously. Is that wise, Naruto? Your true power, I know, Naruto said, cutting him off. We will be careful not to overuse my power or risk destroying the right capital or the people in it. This barrier is strong, so the damage will be confined to this area, mostly, Naruto said. Then let's do it, said Kurama. Orochimaru quickly tossed two sharp swords to the Senju brothers, who accepted it without a word. But in return, Naruto sheathed his sword, much to Hoshirama's confusion. Pick up your sword, Emperor, Hoshirama said flatly. It is not a weapon that can be carelessly used when thousands of citizens are still in this city. Don't worry, I will give this fight my all, Naruto said. Very well then, said Hoshirama. Hoshirama made a hand sign, as Tobirama vanished, as Naruto ducked, as a sword clean where his neck once was. He's fast, Naruto said, but... Naruto thrust his arm forward as he turned into a piece of wood, sharp, ready to tear right through Tobirama's chest. But Hoshirama was on him in a second, sweeping his sword straight towards his chest. Naruto shifted his body as he then created a wooden shield as he blocked several explosive attacks from Orochimaru. Naruto close quarters, said Kurama. As Naruto stabbed his wooden hand right in Tobirama's foot as Hoshirama flashed in front of him and drive a punch towards his chest as Naruto tilted his body. But Tobirama already finished going through hand sign as he blew water bullets from his mouth as Naruto created another wooden shield as Hoshirama then appeared beside him and slammed a kick into his side that knocked him away as Naruto flipped in mid-air and landed on the ground. The three of them then rushed towards him from different directions. Their speed was frightening. Together they leapt at him as he started a series of taijutsu moves. Anko, who was standing a few meters away as she was guarding the coffins, as she could only watch as Naruto fought a brutal hand-to-hand combat. Slowly but surely the enemy found a tiny moment where Naruto's defense was weakened as they struck hard. Although all it did was piss him off even more, the blows that were being rained down on him would have shattered the fiercest Anbu ninjas yet. Naruto was striking back with more vigor. For each punch taken, he lashed out at them even worse, as Orochimaru suffered a devastating kick to the groin. Tobirama was next on Naruto tear a hole right through the man's neck. A roundhouse kick then sent the man crashing into a nearby house. Hoshirama was a complete different story from the both of them though. While lacking the speed of Tobirama and the flexibility of Orochimaru, he had immense strength and endurance. As Naruto thrust the enhanced fist towards Hoshirama's chest, but Hoshirama grabbed it. The momentary shock costed Naruto as he received a bone-crushing kick towards the chest and punches in his face that sent him sailing away. As Naruto coughed up blood as he had to quickly get up, as Tobirama sent a single shuriken towards him and they went through hand signs. Shuriken cyclone technique, he said. Naruto encased his body by the chakra provided by Kurama, making that technique useless. His mangeto spun rapidly as he narrowed his eyes on Tobirama. Amaterasu. As he performed a quick sun shin to avoid, but his arm got caught in the attack, with one enemy now out of the way. Naruto turned to see several snakes flying towards him, their fangs extended, ready to bite into his flesh. But Naruto burst into crows. Orochimaru was shocked when Naruto arrived behind him. As he turned to see a predatory look in Naruto's eyes, his Mangeto Sharingan spun wildly. Burn, Naruto said, as Orochimaru screamed out in pain as the Amaterasu started to burn in his chest, as Anko whistled out, as she really enjoyed seeing that. Maybe Naruto will be alright against those three monsters, Naruto thought. But then her Byakugan saw something. Naruto, watch out, she called. Naruto just delivered a bone-crushing kick to Orochimaru's mouth, wherein several vines break from the ground and wrapped him up. Brutally, the vines started to smash him on the ground like a rag doll, repeatedly. As Naruto went to single hand sign, wind style, wind cutter, he said, as they were all sliced up. Blood oozed from his body, as the second then appeared in front of him. Apparently, he sliced off his burning arm and it was replaced with a new one. Damn, Edo Tensei, thought Kurama bitterly. Water style, water bullet technique. Wood style, cutting technique. As Naruto quickly strengthened his position on the ground as the Senju brothers launched another monstrous attack. The sky was full with razor-sharp water bullets that was about to rain down on him, while the land was being torn apart by hundreds of sharp wooden spears. Naruto thrust his right arm forward as the water rained down from the sky. Channeling a massive amount of chakra from his body, he yelled, Amaterasu Barrage! As he went through handstand again, wood style, cutting technique, as hundreds of spears burst from behind him, going towards Hoshirama attack, as the same attack cancel out each other as the wood spears smash into each other, while the Amaterasu incinerate the water attack. As the entire battlefield became a blind spot, surrounded by fog, drips of water, and wooden spears. Hinata, what do you see? Asked Anko. Amazing. The Emperor didn't take a single hit from that attack, and he is holding for now. Wait, he's grinning, said Hinata as she was confused. What? Uncle said. As Hoshirama understood why Naruto was grinning. Scatter, he's going to use a miss against us. As he heard several footsteps around him, and not a second later he saw several Narutos leap out from the smoke with their swords. In a sheer display of monstrous strength, Hoshirama smashed his hand down into the ground, sending debris everywhere. As the Naruto clones were too close and they were all destroyed in seconds. He then saw bright lights in the mist. Woodlock wall, he said, as that was the only thing you do, as he grimaced as hundreds of fireballs smashed against his defense. This boy is strong, thought Hoshirama. He then gasped in shock as something tear right through his wooden wall, tearing through his chest as he saw it was a powerful beam of lightning. Off in distance he saw the Mangita Sharingan. Shidori spear, Naruto said from a distance away. Shidori blast, Naruto said, as the Shidori spread out in Hoshirama's chest, making the hole even wider. As it then started to gather a small ball in the center, Hoshirama looked over at Naruto and only muttered one word, shit, as a massive explosion went off. It was like a nova blast, disintegrating everything in a mile radius. As Naruto had to jump away so he wouldn't get caught up in an attack. But still, watching Hoshirama's body get evaporated like that, it was fun. Did you just vaporize my brother? As Naruto saw conscious Tobirama standing behind him, who was livid. As Tobirama then vanished, leaving behind a tag. As Naruto saw several seals on it. Multiple explosive tags, he said, as the tags multiplied and went off in a boom. An endless series of violent explosions occurred, one after another. The attack was so destructive, it made the entire capital shake, and if not for the barrier, more than half of the district could have been torn to pieces. The attack ended after 3 minutes. As Tobirama noticed as he saw a spectral figure floating. As he waited as the smoke dispersed, and there stood before him a Susanoo. Before he could even get over his surprise, Susanoo disappeared in a flock of crows. Years of battlefield experience kicked in as he raised his hand. Kai, he said, trying to release again Jutsu. The field changed again and now he was standing in a deep crater, thanks to his explosions. In the far off distance he could see Hoshirama's body forming, but rather slowly. While Orochimaru was nowhere to be seen. Maybe the snake hit the bucket, Tobirama thought. As he then sensed something as he jumped away, but he was too late as an arrow teared through half of his body, a giant arrow. As he turned to see Naruto the upper half of a Susanoo, as he was holding a bow, menacing dark red eyes glaring at him. As another giant arrow was created by the Susanoo. Tobirama tried to move, but with half of his body destroyed he couldn't. But you're not the only one the trick, Tobirama said. As he quickly created a clone without any hand sign, as a clone clasped his hand together. Bringer of darkness jutsu, he said. As the world went dark, it was like the entire place was stuck in a black hole. Wherever Naruto looked, he could see nothing. He lost his vision completely. Naruto focused on the remaining senses. Use your sensory power, said Kurama. You know about this jutsu, Kurama? Naruto asked. Let's just say one of my former containers had experienced it in the past. As Naruto's memory went back to the certain redhead who had been the first container of the fox. Maybe since Kurama was inside of her. Is there any way to break it, Naruto asked. There is. You hit the user with powerful attacks to destroy the regular chakra flow he's using to power this jutsu. That is the only way, said Kurama. You mean fight blindly, Naruto said. Precisely. What? You scared already? Asked Kurama as Naruto huffed. I am the Emperor, Fox. A few years back, this may have been enough to defeat me, but not today. Not after everything I've learned over the years, Naruto said in a confident tone. As Naruto raised the hands of his Susanoo, several projectiles started to take shape. The mere sight of them made Kurama remember the night of the Root Massacre. As Naruto released several chakra bombs in all directions. As Naruto's eyes closed, he fired attacks after attacks after Tobirama. Left, right, damn, this guy is probably as fast as Dad, Naruto thought. As Kurama realized that Tobirama was just shunching away every time Naruto attacked near him. Kurama, I think I find the pattern in his move. I'll need your help with this, Naruto said. You mean your dumbass actually came up with a plan instead of firing off attacks aimlessly? Very funny, Naruto said. What do you have in mind, said Kurama, as Naruto explained his plan, as Kurama smiled. Meanwhile, Tobirama performed another Sunshin as another chakra bomb exploded behind him. In the end, Kaiser, you're nothing but a brute. Typical of a Uchiha to lack the finesse, said Tobirama, trying to frustrate his opponent. The barrage of bombs started to fire off again, as Tobirama started to perform Sunshins after Sunshins to avoid the attacks. Soon enough he knew that the Emperor's attack will come to an end after his chakra run dry, and then he will do his last attack to end his life. His pattern still remained the same. Is he really the one that defeated Sarutobi? Thought Tobirama curiously. As he finished another Sunshin, he was startled when a certain yellow chakra tail emerged on the ground in front of him. From his side, he saw the usual chakra bomb coming on him, as it was 2 seconds away from impacting. You plan to capture me first and make a hit, not bad, but not enough either, Tobirama said. Before the tail could reach him, he performed a reverse Sunshin, going back to the previous position he was. But his eyes widened when another tail burst from the ground, grasping him tightly. As he tried to look around, but he came face to face with a chakra ball. Boom! The darkness disappeared as Tobirama's head exploded like a watermelon. Without wasting any time, Naruto dashed forward. His Susanoo vanished, his right hand instantly released, right in Jaka. As Naruto jammed his sword right through the corpse, Tobirama's head was barely reforming when his entire body froze. Long sword of the remnant, flame void, Naruto said. Embrace eternity, Tobirama, Naruto said. Hoshirama just watched as his brother's body started to crack apart. Within seconds, Tobirama crumbled to pieces on the ground. A divine light emerged from the dust, which was completely absorbed into the sword. You may have been more smart than me, but sometimes a simple deception can make the mightiest warriors fall, Naruto said. He then sealed back writing Jaka into his sheet and turned to face Hoshirama. He is at peace, Hoshirama. Never again shall he use by selfish mortals like Orochimaru, because he's one with the divine. You sealed my brother, didn't you? Said Hoshirama. I gave him peace, Hokage. His spirit will live on in his sword. He shall have eternal life, even after humanity makes its end. He won't be tortured, would he? Asked Hoshirama, concerned his eyes, as he wouldn't want his brother's soul to be tortured. Raijin Jaka never discriminates. It's a spirit itself. Once a person's fight is over, whatever sin committed by a man in this life or left in this life, you will gain new experience with this entity. Honestly, I've always wondered why it chose me as the wielder. Because your spirit is pure. Naruto blinked, taken aback by Hoshirama's words. I don't understand, Naruto said. Madara once told me he forcefully took this sword from a holy monastery, where it was carefully treasured by monks, sage, who never participated in the violent conflicts of shinobis. For ages, they have never made anyone get their hands on this precious sword, mainly because of its monstrous power, said Hoshirama. Surprising Naruto, Uchiha Madara wanted this sword, Naruto said. I can't imagine someone as powerful as him would need this weapon. Madara was powerful, but still a man in the end. He did manage to steal the sword, but he was never able to master the power, and that infuriated him. I had feared if he managed to control that sword back then, the history of the world would be different. Then how did this sword end up with Shin of all people? He was just another root envoy like me. When I created Konoha, the Uchihas were a part of the village. When Madara left, his clan cut ties with all of his belongings. In a way, they were trying to distance themselves from Madara in any possible way. With no one to claim Madara belongings, they land in the village treasury. The Uchihas never knew what this sword was, and you never told them what it was, Naruto said. No clan was fit to wield such power. I sealed this sword and I hid the vault, never to be opened again, except by another Hokage, he said. Then your brother came along. I'm guessing with his relentless desire to protect Konoha, he experimented with it, tried to harness his power, but he failed too. When Tobirama died, his students took over. At that time, the third Great Ninja War started and the village needed such a power again. So I'm guessing heroes and Low Danzo tried to find a way to activate the sword to its fullest potential. Until Shin came, said Naruto, earned a smile from Hoshirama. Your friend was noble. He wanted peace, not for one, but for the entire world. He wanted happiness for his friends. He even sacrificed his life to save yours, I guess. Raijin Jaka never wanted a wielder to conquer, but one who worked for the greater good. Maybe it sees that potential in you now, Naruto. Don't let it go to waste, said Hoshirama. I thank you for your advice, Naruto said, as he gave a small bow to his senior. Tobirama made a mistake by underestimating you. I won't. Prepare yourself, Emperor, said Hoshirama. Naruto's eyes widened as that enormous pressure descended upon the capital. Far away, he saw Ango and the others fell on their knees, unable to stand against his new power. As Hoshirama's entire body got covered in chakra, and dark lines started to form under his eyes. Kurama, what the hell is he doing? The ground beneath them split apart instantly, as thousands cried out. In the right capital, many houses were sent underground. In midst of all this madness, Naruto was unfazed, as his eyes were on another opponent who came from the ground, and apparently transformed into a snake. So this is your final form, to think you will twist your human body like this. Disgusting, Naruto said. as Hoshirama was looking at a giant 8-headed snake who was as large as a Kyuubi. The monster loomed over the entire right capital as symbol of death and destruction. Right in the center of the monster was Orochimaru as he was glaring down. I brought the strongest warrior of all time and my most powerful form. It's over, Naruto, Orochimaru said. But Naruto then started to chuckle as he turned off full-blown laughter. Have you truly forgotten who I am, Naruto said. Hoshirama's eyes widened on hearing those words, but it had already begun. As a wave of malicious chakra burst from Naruto's body, crushing everything in his path. As the Susanoo emerged, it started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The Susanoo formed 9 large tails, but there was something about them. Each tail started to assume the face of a dragon, and the body started to get covered in ice crystals. One of the tail head opened its mouth and showed fire burning. The next, water. The third, lightning. The fourth, earth. The fifth seemed to be formulating wind blades. The sixth and seventh formed ice beam. The eighth had a reddish ball. And the ninth was made up of pure yellow energy. The entire Susanoo was larger than Orochimaru's 8-headed snake form, as his demonic black eyes glared at his 2 opponents. And finally it unleashed 2 massive wings as it took to the sky. Hinata and several Reich soldiers grabbed the coffin. They were scared in Hoshirama and Orochimaru unleashed their power, but seeing that, as Anko trembled, "Run," she said, as Hoshirama saw the Reich soldiers flee as fast as they could, despite the barrier that Naruto created to protect from the damage. Even his own eyes could only marvel at the sign of this power. It seems your descendants have surpassed you, Madara. Then again, he's part Senju. Both clans' power run through his veins, Hoshirama thought gravely. As Naruto was floating in the midst of that monster, his Mangekyo Sharingan burning brightly. There are only 2 people in the world that can claim to match my power, and neither of them are here, Naruto said. As his murderous gaze landed on Orochimaru as he clenched his fist. Wood release. Cutting technique. Hundreds of spears came from the ground, stabbing through the snake. The creature and Orochimaru cried out as a shower of blood drenched the entire ground. As Orochimaru yelled in agony as his body started to get frozen in ice. He tried to get out of this bloody trap, but the more he struggled, the more the pain came. These wooden tentacles are sucking my chakra and using them to freeze me, he cursed. He looked upwards to see Naruto pointing 2 fingers at him. This is not over! I am the Snake Sanin, Orochimaru yelled. Once, you may have been a great warrior, but now, you're nothing but trash. Disappear, trash. As 2 of the dragon's heads moved their head forward, a bright beam of red was formed in one of their mouths, and another was forming a lot of yellow beams. As Hoshirama went through hand sign, Mokiton, wood style, wood explosion jutsu, a large dome-like structure with a dragon face opened its mouth as it appeared, quickly taking Hoshirama in his belly. Orochimaru trembled as he saw no way out of this. He was trapped, his eyes fixed on the glowing sky. They see nothing but glorious power. If only I could have that power. As Naruto released it, as the attack came down with a sick boom, the attack tore through the entire area. As Hoshirama was inside of his barrier, as he could feel the place shaking tremendously, and he had to keep forcing out chakra to stop his dome from getting destroyed. When the attack finally calmed down, he stepped outside. He was in a large, deep crater. There was no sign of Orochimaru, as if he was wiped out from the face of the earth. As Hoshirama looked up to see Naruto standing, as he was still in Susanoo, that satisfied smile on his face. The barrier that Naruto formed was destroyed, along with the clones maintaining it. If not for that barrier, this entire place would have been wiped off the map, thought Hoshirama. He then made 4 wood clones. All of them concentrated their power and slammed their hands together. 4 red yank formation, he said. A gigantic square barrier started to form around the 2 of them, as Naruto made no move to stop it, as this one was far more powerful than the one he formed. Thank you for being gracious, Hoshirama-sama, Naruto said. There is no more need for innocents to die in our battle. You can go all out, Emperor, said Hoshirama. I never thought I got the honor of fighting the strongest shinobi, Naruto said. I respect your challenge and accept it. Let the strongest prevail, Naruto said. You're forgetting one thing, Emperor, said Hoshirama. What is that, Naruto asked. You may have the combined power of the Uzumaki, Senju, and Uchiha inside of you along with the Kyuubi, but in the end you're a man, and all man can be killed, threatened Hoshirama. And I also have an endless source of chakra, and you don't. Bring it on, Hoshirama, Naruto shouted. Wood clones, Hoshirama said, as he created 100 clones as they scatter around the barrier. Even for the almighty Naruto, this was too much a process that quickly. His manga spin rapidly to find out the original and to put an end to this with one strike. And it cost him immensely. Sage Art, Gates of the Great God. As Naruto was alarmed when he heard Hoshirama's voice somewhere across a field of clones, as he sent a enormous attack coming from. As he looked up in the sky, only to have his eyes widen in shock. At least 10 gigantic gates fell from the sky, as they smashed down on the giant Susanoo, bringing it down. As Susanoo crashed down, a loud boom. Debris larger than buildings flew around because of the crash, eliminating some of the Hoshirama clones who were too close. Barely had the smoke cleared, Hoshirama saw that Naruto's Susanoo was just barely damaged, and it was trying to get back up again. As a seal appeared in his hand, Hoshirama yelled out as several more gates dropped from the sky, binding down his tails. What is this, Naruto thought, as he couldn't move a tail. Naruto, this attack was capable of stopping mine and Madara's combined power. Don't lose focus or this man will kill you for sure, Kurama warned. I have not come this far to lose, Naruto said. Nearly 50 Hoshirama clones launched towards him with the intent of tearing him to pieces. A ferocious snarl escaped from Naruto's lips as he pointed his sword forward. As Susanoo blade with the ice glowing around it pointed forward, 1,000 needles of death. Every Hoshirama looked up in the sky to see 1,000 needles forming. So large as the attack, it blocked the moon itself, and then they rained down. The clone army that was about to attack him was brutally slaughtered. Until the last clone vanished, Naruto continued his attack. Every defensive clones gathered. They were destroyed due to the sheer power of the Emperor's attack. In the end, only the real Hoshirama remained, as his entire body was covered in ice needles, but the wounds were healing up already. Naruto didn't know why, but all of the danger that this man posed in his life and to the right, but he felt extremely happy. For the first time in years, there was someone that was strong enough to push him back. Had my heart prayed for such an enemy for these past years, Naruto wondered. Regardless, he focused his power to the front of a large ball of energy, started forming Susanoo mouth. You're truly strong, Kaiser Naruto. Biju Bomb! Hoshirama quickly beat his thumb as he ran through Hanzo and slammed his hand on the ground. 5-layer Rashomon, he said, as 5 demonic gates lined up in Hoshirama's defense. As Hoshirama had to jump away as Naruto's monster's attack teared through 4 of the gates. As it clashed with the 5th gate, they exploded outwards. Hoshirama then turned back his focus to Naruto's Susanoo and saw that Naruto turned his sword into an ox as he smashed through 3 of the gates that was holding down his tails. As he freed Susanoo and smashed through all of them as he stood back up straight. So the Biju Bomb was a distraction. Good thinking. As Naruto let all of the tails came up as all of them targeted Hoshirama. Fire, Naruto said as all of them released their energy. Hoshirama grimaced as an attack that was large enough to block out the entire barrier was coming towards him as he couldn't see past it. He went through hand sign, wood style, wood locking wall as a wooden dome surrounded him. As the attack was explosive, shaking the entire capital. As Naruto waited until something fly out of it, wood release, wood dragon technique. A giant wooden dragon emerged with Hoshirama standing on top of it. As Naruto went through Hansen's swamp of the underworld, he said, a large muddy swamp was formed as Hoshirama tried to turn his wooden dragon, but the swamp extended. As the lower half of the wood dragon got trapped, as Naruto brought his sword forward and gathered a large amount of chakra, Black Dragon Blizzard. 2 ice dragons were formed as they thrust forward towards the struggling Senju warrior. Naruto panted heavily as the string of enormous attacks had eaten away at his chakra reserves. Hashirama was right away. He had a grave advantage in his battle with his unending chakra reserves. Naruto gritted his teeth as Hoshirama would dragon eat off the ice dragon head, as Hoshirama created a giant wooden arm that grabbed the other one, as it was shattered to little pieces. But Naruto then leaped forward with Susanoo as he crashed down, boom, as Naruto drive his ice sword straight through the wooden dragon ice as it whirled and flashed around, as Naruto channeled chakra inside the sword and poured it down inside the beast. Hoshirama quickly leapt away as the dragon exploded outwards. 3 of Naruto's tails collapsed behind him as his body was getting worn out and tired using so much chakra. As both of them then went through hand sign, wood release, secret technique, earth, off, the wooden land the both of them said. From both sides the two of them created hundreds of trees, formulating a vast forest, as the twin forests clashed with each other. Blood leaked from Naruto's mouth as he poured his strength into that attack, matching Hoshirama's power, while maintaining his large stun at the same time. Hoshirama was also fighting back with fierce strength, but Naruto was determined. Tears of blood slid from Naruto's eyes as his body was being pushed to its limit. All his life he had been wondering why a powerful man like Uchiha Madara lost Hoshirama. Now he understood. Slowly his Susanoo was being pushed back as the forest was also getting eaten by Hoshirama's own. But Naruto did not relent. For the sake of the thousands that have died on this day, I can't relent. Hoshirama, he yelled out in frustration. Amaterasu! As Hoshirama's eyes went wide, Naruto unleashed a tidal wave of Amaterasu flames that burned through every tree, every plant. In a matter of seconds, there was only burning leaf now. Both forests were destroyed now. Naruto remained in tails, vanished, leaving only the ancient body of the power left, and that was also crumbling as Naruto was on the ground panting heavily. Enough, Naruto, at this rate you will die, said Hoshirama. There is no other way for me, Hoshirama, Naruto said. Victory or death. Isn't it possible for us to coexist? Make peace with the shinobis, Hoshirama said. Whatever this boy had turned into today, it was made by decision of him and his brother. Why do you care, Hoshirama, Naruto says. He coughed up blood. He then wiped his mouth. If I fall, so does right. It will work in your favor. As Naruto saw sorrow in the man's eyes, the man stared at him. I couldn't say Madara. I pay heed to his advice, and the world was led to this point. You of all people can understand the pain of losing one's best friend. I don't want to kill you, said Hoshirama, as it made Naruto smile sadly. Hoshirama, it's just not possible for us to show our guts to each other, Naruto said sadly. As those tore something in Hoshirama's art, as Naruto started to step forward with Susanoo. What made this even more painful was a gentle smile on Naruto's face. With trembling fingers, he clasped his hands together. As Hoshirama looked at the boy, wood release, advent of the world of flowering trees, as several trees came from the ground. As they combined together to create a huge flower. Seconds later, started to release a pollen that spread all around Naruto. Naruto, Kurama said. Not yet. Not yet, Naruto said. As his vision clouded, as energy started to seep away from his body. The faces of Kurenai, Haku, Kakashi, Tsunade, Anko, all of them flashed into his mind. And also Ren. Naruto, Kurama said, use Raijin-Jaka. I can't if it is used here to destroy every person inside the capital. My wife and my children included, Naruto said. But, Kurama said, you don't know its true power, Kurama. Unless I face a true monster in the battlefield, I cannot use that power. But Hoshirama, he will... I'll deal with him, Naruto said, if you continue to support me. As Kurama smiled back, you need not ask, boy. I'm with you all the way. Then lend me your power, Naruto said. As Hoshirama watched as Naruto leaned over. As he then exploded upwards, red chakra bursting from his body as his giant Susanoo reformed, with the 9 giant tails behind it, as the dragons snarled at Hoshirama. The Kyuubi supports you, said Hoshirama in shock. Yeah, he's a pain in the ass most of the time, but he's a good friend. Shut up, Kurama said, making Naruto laugh. You did what you couldn't. This fight is not over yet, Senju, Naruto said. Hoshirama grinned as he slammed his hands together, as he channeled all of his chakra together, as Naruto raised his Susanoo, as each of the tails hold a monstrous tail beast ball, as his sword was also glowing with pure power. Sage Art would release through several thousand hands. Hoshirama created a giant statue with thousands of hands, towering hundreds of meters over Susanoo. It also had the face of a Buddha. As both warriors looked at each other one last time, Hoshirama! Naruto! As both of them charged at each other. As Naruto fired all of his tail beast bombs as Hoshirama unleashed his army of wooden hands. Strike after strike, blow after blow, it continued for several minutes. Hoshirama raised the right hand of the statue, a seal going on his palm. As several of the arms break through Naruto's Susanoo, landing devastating blow on his body. With great strength, Naruto burned all of them with his Mangekyou, black flames. Amidst amongst the battle, Naruto and Hoshirama eyes met, as they leapt away from the Susanoo and the statue. As Hoshirama drive his sword as it pierced right through Naruto's gut. At the same time, Hoshirama gasped. A sword held by Naruto has also pierced his gut. Time seemed to slow down as the both of them stared into each other's eyes. as Hoshirama then smiled. Become an emperor this world has never seen before, Hoshirama said, as he patted Naruto's head. I will, Naruto said. And please, look after Snavi, as Naruto nodded, as Hoshirama closed his eyes. Remnant of the flaming void, Naruto said. The gigantic Buta and the Susanoo shattered into millions of pieces. Your fight is over, Hoshirama. Rest now, Naruto said. The red barrier vanished as Naruto collapsed on his knees. Kurama, we did it, Naruto said, as he collapsed over unconscious. But guys, be any subs right here. If you want the next part of this, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn the bell notifications to stay posted. And remember, share this with all of your friends on your social media platform. But for now, I'm out of here. See you guys soon. Peace.